Mikey and his magic middies. Will they get you over the line this season? Will Jake have Tedesco this week? Maxie, the consistent keeper. Ryan Hadley, Australia's next test fast bowler. Timmy, the 2020 SuperCoach champion. And Savs, the Newcastle. Tommy Turbo tragic.
Are you ready for some football?
We're ready for some football, baby.
All right. Here we go.
You're now listening to the SuperCoach Experience Podcast.
What is up, guys? Welcome to the SuperCoach Experience. I'm your host, Brandon Savage, the coach of the Savage Turbos. I'm joined by a special guest that we have not seen in a minute. He's been busy doing his own thing. He's been busy absolutely killing it. We are joined by the Whisperer once again for a preseason SuperCoach Experience episode. How are you, Whisperer?
Mate, big 2021 vibes here. Very, very good. Very good to be on. Thank you so much for having me. Footy's back. How good is it to have some footy back and just to see some young kids ripping and a tearing?
Footy is back. I'm so excited. Preseason challenge. First of all, before we get into you, preseason challenge, I love the initiative to get the preseason trials nice and engaging, but it's still not quite NRL round one, is it?
No, it's not. From years gone by, I've been a SuperCoach player since 2016. And I remember back then it was so hard to get trial stuff. So I think the NRL have done a fantastic job making trials more accessible just for the everyday punter. And as I said before, seeing young fellas just ripping and tearing, I think it shows that the competition is pretty deep. Like the competition talent that we have is quite deep. A lot of these young kids were very, very good. And I think Christian Welch nailed it. He said these kids are getting bigger and bigger every year. And I think the quality of footy, for mid-February was really good.
It is very good for this time of year. And is it a bit fool's gold, though? Like a lot of youngsters playing up against youngsters. Obviously, they're playing up against the people that are level with them. So the ones that stand out actually stand out. But taking it to the big stage, it's a whole nother ball game.
100%. I think the more experience you give to these young kids, the better that they get. Yeah, it's good to look good against your own namesake. And, as super coaches, we do get swept up in the preseason hype. I think I made a tweet today that Stefano Toy Commando is now the highest owned front row forward. I think he was 8% owned before the trials. He's now 30%. So, yeah, a lot of preseason hype can get out of control, and a lot of preseason negatives can get out of control. I would love to see David Fafita's ownership, the difference between pre-trial and after trial. But yeah, we get swept up in it, but that's the entire point, isn't it?
I think that's something we're going to do next trial. Just like have a look at the percentages, write them all down, and then have a look after for big name players. Yeah. Stefano is a very interesting one. We'll get into him very shortly because he's a hot topic. But firstly, we haven't seen you in a while. Your dual position podcast has gone well with Addo. But my question is, what's your push-pull leg split at the gym like?
It's been good, mate. It's been good. Like you're fine when you do these sort of things. You can neglect your body. And yeah, I think I've been pretty open with some weight loss. So it's been nice. It's been good to look back at some early podcasts on video and just look at how gross I felt. And looking back now, it's nice. But yeah, mate, looking after your body is fantastic. I see your private posts on TikTok about a few of your gym tips. So it's good. It's just good to get around.
Right. Seriously, like if you're listening and you don't go to the gym, just like start going for a few weeks. Like even for your body image, if you're happy with your body image, that's fine. But it just makes you feel fucking great, eh? Like
even just from a mental health standpoint. You definitely feel so much better after a workout. And if you don't like lifting weights, just making sure you're getting, 5,000, 10,000 steps in a day, half an hour walk out in the sun to get some vitamin D. So it's fantastic.
100%. You ask my wife, and if I don't go to the gym or go for a walk, like I go crazy. I start work at like 7 o'clock in the morning. I pick up my daughter after school, and my wife doesn't get home till like 6:37. I get up at 4 o'clock to go to the gym before work. That's how good it is. Like
I'm more of a let's go to the gym at 10 o'clock before bed kind of guy. I can't do early mornings.
No, but I would do that. But
you got a kid now, man. You're a dad. Like you got other things in life pulling you aside.
I don't want to be that guy.
How's that been? We haven't spoken on camera for a while. How's being a dad?
Oh, it was very, very good when she was younger. How old is she now? She's 1.5, and she's becoming a little shit. She's getting a personality, and it's much better, but at the same time, it's much harder. So, when she was younger, I was able to walk down to Panthers Leagues Club, watch the footy from bloody 3 to 9, and she'd sleep most of it. She'd just sit there and play. But now it's
she would text me every half an hour. When are you coming home? Please take her off my hands.
She will not stay still. Before we do get on to the trial recap, we've got a comment here from Steve Carter. Davey Moale will be at the Panthers 2023, hearing rumors of a management meeting. Okay, so I want to touch on this because this is a hot topic.
This girl had caused me so much mental angst last week.
Mixed rugby. Mixed Rugby League chat obviously posted that thing about Angus Crichton. We'll get to that. She's posted something about Davey Moale meeting with the Panthers. It's a possibility. She's honestly posted a lot of shit today. She said Mitchell Moses is going to re-sign. She said Sione Katoa is going to sign with the Dragons. I think her mail has been pretty good in the preseason, but in the last few weeks, I think she's just throwing shit at a wall and hoping it sticks.
This David Fafita one, it was a piss take from a Panthers podcast. I think that's been confirmed. I've got that on my phone. I can send that to you if you want to bring it up or something. But yeah, so a Panthers podcast sent her a text as a piss take. I think it's the big cat or the big cat cast patrol. I don't know. I don't follow. I'm sorry, but yeah, they basically took the piss, and I think that's the thing. Like once you get a bit of, I think Clarkey had this a couple of years ago, didn't he? Like obviously Clarkey's become fantastic in the space. But a few years ago, it was the butt end of a few jokes. And I think Mick's, copying the brunt of this, but no, David Fafita is not going to the Panthers.
So do you want to address what you did the other day? So I came out and defended you in an Instagram reel, pretty much just saying,
thank you very much.
You pretty much quoted the tweet like you did nothing wrong in my opinion, but you did add your own spin to the next few posts. Said you spoke to the Roosters.
Yeah, so basically Mick put that out, and obviously Angus Crichton, big name, so I just reposted it and was just like, look, this is true, awful, hopefully everything's good. I rang a few guys that I knew at the Roosters, and then look, in hindsight, they were defending Angus, like they were trying to protect him, which totally fine. Like it's Angus's spot to come out and say what's happening. I posted, what I thought was happening turned out to be wrong, so I deleted it, and and then just absolutely copped it. So I took a couple of days off socials. I think that was the best thing. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's hard though because we hold Buzz Rothfield, every journo under the sun to this high standard about not leaking player information, but yet when a private Instagram page or a smaller Instagram page does it, it's okay. I think we have to put everyone in the media on a standpoint, like on a level playing field. I don't think you can move the goalposts for one journal and not the other.
I agree. But like, honestly, I think once Mick posted it, I think that's fair game for everyone to post it. Cause if it is a rumor, like we're all not saying it's definitely happening. Like,
I just think it was the breaking news title. Like it just felt a bit tasteless there. But we live in them. I think if she had her time over again, she wouldn't have done it the way she did it. I think the Rugby League Guru hit the nail on the head where that's not really news that should be titled as breaking. But everyone has their stuff ups in the preseason. God, 2 years ago, I got some word that Cleary had a broken arm in hospital, and that was true. it was Jed Cleary, not Nathan. So,
bro, people would know who it is now though, because like he's
killing it. Yeah,
he's killing it. He is a good looking young Rooster. Young Panther. I don't want to say that because he's under 18, but yeah, he's going to be, if he plays NRL, he's going to be the next big guy.
Definitely.
Right, so trial wrap up. Let's enough talking shit. It's good to talk shit for a bit, but trial wrap up. So we're going to categorize it into 3 different categories. Love what we saw. So we've got one player each. Need to see more. And need more clarity. So pretty much the need to see more, we're not sure what we saw. So we just want to see a little bit more. Need more clarity. I think that's more for minutes because, people could be okay and be really good buys. But like someone like Luke Metcalf, who I'm going to probably mention in the first one, we need more clarity on him.
And a few of these need to see mores aren't necessarily bad things. I've got a few good need to see mores. Like we just want to see a repeat performance. So it can go both ways. And I think we'll break into that. I mean, my first one, this Warriors-Tigers game, I've got Stefano Toy Commando. We mentioned him before. The hype train has definitely left the station. He generally looked back to his, dynamic ball running best. He looked like a good tackle breaker. Yeah, he had the try to boost that Supercoach score at the end of it, but I still think he looked fantastic beforehand. The big thing with Stefano is obviously the Tigers have recruited very well in the forward pack, and there's going to be some minute concerns. But at 45, 50 minutes, I don't see any reason not to have him. I guess the big question then becomes, do you start with him or is he becoming a bench option?
I'm personally starting with him at 320K. I don't know if you can really afford to have that on your front row bench because
gross price, isn't it? Like it's, and I was saying this to Ado before. If he was 420, I'd be much more inclined to start with him because it's a better price to move off from if anything does happen.
Yeah.
Like 320, it's like shit. If he goes down in the first 3 weeks,
yeah.
Sean Kepi, is that like who we're moving to? Like it's a really awkward price. But you're right, 320 is just a gross price to have front row forward bench.
But at the same time, do you really want to have like a 260K player on your bench that's not going to play? I think you're better off having someone like him on your bench and evening out the rest of your side rather than having, I think him in your starting side is fine. I think the way he's looked, they had him as captain, so I think that means he's in high regard for this year. And, Supercoach isn't always about calculating it right. It's all about taking a punt here and there.
But you also don't need every player to average 75 either. I think we fall into that trap as Supercoaches. Like we need every player to have, massive upside. Like Stefano's 320. If he can get to 500, sick, he's done his job.
In my opinion, Tom Gilbert under Wayne Bennett is a worse buy than Commando.
Spicy. Yeah. I'm keen to see Gilbert in the trials because the duel is handy. If you didn't have the duel, I wouldn't be interested.
Yeah. Obviously you have him at front row, but I think the 320 versus the 494 and, under Wayne, historically, the lock doesn't play 80 minutes. They play 50 minutes. And I think...
I just think with Gilbert, like he'll probably slot in. Like I don't trust Jesse Bromwich to play big minutes. And then obviously Ray Stone showed what he can do on the weekend and maybe Gilbert slots in. But there's another cheap front row forward that we'll touch on in the Melbourne game soon.
That's what we need to see more for. What I love what I saw. Tom Ali, 49 Supercoach approximated point, 256K in the front row, but it's not necessarily the Supercoach score. It's how busy he was. 180 meters, 6 tackle breaks, 19 runs, 22 tackles. I think the fact that he was so busy is just a very good sign. I don't know if he's going to get a start for the Warriors, but I like what I saw.
Yeah, definitely. I really, really liked what I saw from him. There was some raps from Warriors camp that he could be a bit of a smoky to get some bench minutes and definitely did himself no harms based off his performance. Definitely want to see more, or not more, but definitely want to see him do it again. I want to see more from Justin Matamua, 2RF, 234K. Looked really shaky in his first stint. Was overplaying his hand a touch, but, Sheens has come out and said that he wants his forwards to do that. He wants his middle forwards to be shifting the ball more. So maybe we are just looking at it, too hypercritically. Sheens might have loved what he saw. And then in his second stint, he played much, much better, looked much more composed. Justin Matamua, some talks that he could be the 13 if they decide, if Bateman's not ready, obviously still not in the country and we're 3 weeks out from the season. So there could be some minutes for Matamua, definitely one to monitor and see if he's named in what we would think be the first team next week.
The good thing is, if he's a favourite to start at lock, if Bateman isn't there, if it doesn't happen, we've got Blore in the second row. So hopefully a cheap spot will open up in that second row area at about a similar price. I need to see more from a guy who was massive on last year, Marcelo Montoya. He scored 3 tries. And yes, I hate being this guy that's like, he scored 3 tries. He's in my team. He's not in my team. I need to see more because the intent he was running with, I just loved what I saw on the eye test. And that's why I knew he was capable of this last year. That's why I was massive on him last year. He did not show that last year at all. This year, he's running with intent and he's playing on the left wing for the Warriors. I think the Warriors are going to do well. They put 48 points on the Tigers. Yes, it is a trial match, but the intent is all I need to see.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for. I mean, it's all well and good to have 130 Supercoach points. But it's just the opportunity. Like obviously with someone like Khan Pierre from the Titans, he could have had 5 or 6 tries. So although he only had 2, it's the ability to know that they're going to attack down that side. Montoya is obviously the focus point, and yeah, it just looks really, really good. And yeah, maybe you were 12 months too early on him, mate.
I think so, but because I was burnt from him last year, I won't start with him. But
you've got to double down, surely. You just got to keep going until you finally hit.
I'll tell you what it reminds me of, Tarpanay last year, because I saw Tarpanay in the All-Stars game, which once again, he played amazingly again. And I started with him because I'm like, I like what I see from him. I sold him after about 6 weeks, and then I didn't get him back all season. So I had him for the wrong half of the season, which was terrible. But yeah, I think players like Marcelo Montoya, they're the kind of ones that you could pull the trigger on, and they're going to continue that through the season. It's not always going to happen, but you got to choose where you put your faith into. Who do you need more clarity on for this game?
Charlie Stain, centre wing fullback, 378k, looked unconvincing at fullback. Look, to his defence, it is hard to dominate when you're on the back foot. But with David Nofaluma a staple, and Kemamalo probably having good grasp on the wing spot. If he wants to break into this Tiger side, it's probably going to be at the fullback spot. And didn't do himself any favours in this game. I know a lot of people, myself included, are very high on him at fullback. Obviously, him on the wing is putrid, and he only has value at fullback, but didn't set the world on fire at 380k.
And Marcelo Montoya put him on his ass, absolutely demolished him. I need more clarity on Luke Metcalf. 86 points, 86 SuperCoach points at 250k. Only available at 5'8", I'm pretty sure.
Surely that's going to get updated round 1.
I think so. But, I mean, he played so good that he might get a spot. And if he does get a spot round 1, is that enough clarity for you to pull the trigger on?
It depends where he gets a spot. I mean, are they really going to move Chance from fullback? That's the thing. Because I think Tomato Martin's going to play 6. Maybe Chance does move into centre if they rate Metcalf highly, which would be gross for Supercoach because Metcalf would be picked at 5'8" and fullback, both positions, where we're pretty much locked down. We want to.
That's good, right? I'm pretty sure you posted something today saying your centre wing was stacked with fullbacks. So obviously, that's not your team, but
no, but it's the opportunity. Like, there's that many centre wing sort of out of. There's so many out of position players sort of shaping up now, isn't there?
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't hate it. He looked really good. And look, there is a possibility that they do shift Chance to the centre. Being a pure Supercoach player, I'd love to see Chance stay at 1. But yeah, don't hate this shout. And I think we get more clarity next week, which is what you want to see.
We're not going to get enough clarity next week. It's going to be round 1 where we get the clarity. But the Warriors put on a good performance, and maybe the Warriors aren't such a pushover. People targeting the Roosters very heavily, who have the Dolphins round 1, Warriors round 2, and then go into a tough draw and a bye. I think you might have to rethink it because the Warriors aren't going to be a pushover, especially starting off in the year. And I think the same could be said for the Dolphins, but we'll get to them. Sharks versus the Newcastle Knights. What did we like?
Oh, my boy Teague Wilton. I've been all aboard the Teague train all preseason. 2RF 493k. I've written here, no secret, I'm a massive Teague Wilton fan, and I think he's a genuine 80-minute edge. Yeah, I know the presence of Wade Graham's but I just think Wade Graham is transitioning more to the middle, and I think Graham and Nakora, can both save rotation headaches for Craig Fitzgibbon just by locking them down for 80 minutes. He had 21 tackles, 8 runs, all over 8 meters, an offload and a try assist in 40 minutes. He's priced at 49 average. We've seen him push upwards of 70 when he's played 80 minutes, and I think he could genuinely be 20 points underpriced.
I think if you're choosing between someone like, I don't know if Garner is a good example, but someone like Eliesa Katoa versus...
I prefer Wilton. I don't think it's close with Wilton and Katoa.
Wilton is a genuine gun. He could push above 600, 700k maybe, depending on how hot the Sharks go and how good their run is. I think that the biggest thing that triggered my mind, which is why I loved Teague last week, they gave him early ball and he ran. He had the opportunity to take the hit up, but he looked outside and he saw space. And I think Wade Graham kind of crabs across the field and cramps up the winger, whereas he's running that line and he's always got both options with him. So I really
Wade Graham's confidence in his own ball playing can be a detriment at times because no doubt he's a fantastic ball player, but does have the ability to crab across, as you mentioned, which does, and we saw that. We saw how dominant Mulatalo and Talakai was with Wilton in the side. And then we saw, Talakai's score sort of drop off a little bit. Is that because Wade Graham's pushing too wide and taking the space? I just think if you're worried about Teague Wilton, go back and look at his scores when he did play last year with Graham out. And I think Wade Graham he's already come out and said he's going to be playing through the middle this year. And Wilton, like I said, genuine 80-minute edge, and I'm loving him.
Don't get me wrong, Wade Graham looked fantastic in the middle, playing 5'8". Like, that is his position. If Moylan goes down, he's probably... does he go in there instead of Trindle? I don't know. That's a conversation for another day. But I think when the Sharks draw lightens up, Talakai and Mulatalo, you've got to watch them hard, especially if Wilton is playing 80 minutes. Teague was my guy that I loved the look of. I didn't put anyone else because I feel like, Wade Graham playing 6, I would have put him, but you don't put Wade Graham.
There's no value. I mean, there's no value in him. Who do you need to see more of then if we don't have anyone that we love?
Greg Marzhew. So I'm very keen on Greg Marzhew. He will play on that left wing outside Ponga, and I'm really confident in the Ponga move to 5'8". I think he's got the cattle around him that's going to help him just elevate his game and play the game that he needs to play. I don't know about the middles, but Greg Marzhew, I saw him take a few hit-ups early on, make some tackle breaks, but that was it of him for the whole game. So I need to see more. I need to make sure he's...
How frustrating has Greg Marzhew been? Because I feel like we've been waiting for him to be a Supercoach option for about 4 years.
Yeah.
And then he gets a game here or there, and it just boosts his average. And now we finally get him starting, like nailed in starting, and he's like 500K.
Yeah, no one wants him. Yeah, but is that the kind of risk you've got to take? Do you have to spend that amount of money? Like, if you had the choice between him or Lockie Miller, who are you going?
Goodness, I think that's actually really tough. I'd need to look into it. But like you mentioned taking a punt. I remember Brian To'o 2 years ago. I think he came in at 440K to start the season. And that's a very similar price to now with the price updates and them being a little bit more expensive. And we saw, I'm not saying the Knights are the Penrith Panthers from 2 years ago, but, big ball running edge or winger that could, genuinely be 10 points underpriced. I don't hate the Marzhew shout. You mentioned you're not sure on the Knights middles, and I need to see more from Daniel Saifiti. Yeah, scored 28 points in 45-ish minutes. It's fine for a trial, but he just didn't pass the eye test. Look, I understand it was hot and it was his first hit out. We just need to see more. There was a lot of hype on him. I think he was 9% owned before the trial. Yeah, people were looking at him as a partner with Tom Gilbert or a partner with Christian Welch. But I mean, we're all buying into this narrative that he's going to bounce back, and didn't really set the world on fire from round one. And if you're an Adam Elliott believer like myself, you don't really want to have too many Knights middles, I think. Yeah,
I think so. I think Daniel Saifiti was in a lot of teams when Supercoach opened, and unsurprisingly, he's out of a lot of teams right now. And I think the trial would have
gradually falling.
Yeah, the trial would have solidified that, and I think there are a lot of better options. He's someone that has fallen off for a few years now, and I think pulling the trigger on him needs to come later rather than sooner.
I think the try scoring ability is the massive appeal. Obviously, Clemmer leaving, he was sort of injured last year. So we know that he averaged 62 a couple of years ago. But I just need to see more. Like I'm definitely not putting the red line through him. But boy, if we don't see anything next week, then you're really worried come round one. Who do we need to see, or who do we have no clarity on for you?
Well, I had Bailey Hodgson. Obviously, he's not going to start the season playing fullback, but if he comes in and a Lockie Miller is injured or a Kalen Ponga or someone's injured and he comes in, obviously he's going to be a cheap price and he probably will be a buy, but I don't think he's ready yet. And I think the Knights picking up Lockie Miller was a smart option. That being said, though, it doesn't really matter for Supercoach. I just had to pick someone. Yeah, I had Jackson Hastings. Halfback 5'8", 546K. It was tough to judge with no KP and no Miller, but he led the team okay. It just didn't have the impact on Supercoach. I think just from a Supercoach standpoint, obviously NRL Fantasy has kick meters and other intangibles that Supercoach doesn't have that Hastings could excel at. But Supercoach, when we're all about attack, I just think we're going to see a lot of KP, a lot of Lockie Miller sweeping out the back to get attacking plays, and Hastings are just going to be
guy that just sets them up. I think he'll lead the Knights well. I'm just not really convinced at all that he's a genuine Supercoach option.
No way he's a Supercoach option. I think what you want to see from him is him playing both sides of the fields, digging deep and drawing in the line and then passing out the back. You want to see a lot of that because that will set up the likes of Ponga and Miller. And
definitely. How did you rate your boys against the Rabbitohs?
Very good. I think I'm very positive about this year. I think Anthony Seibold is actually a pretty good signing.
I don't understand the backlash that
like sacking a top. I don't know if Des is a top 4 coach anymore. I think he gets stuck in his ways and he really favors certain players. So I don't like how, he's stuck with players like Morgan Harper and Brad Parker for so long. Whilst, they're good footballers. I think
they're very 5 out of 10 footballers, aren't they?
Yeah, like the Coolers and the Tuipulotus who have a bit more upside and just have a bit about them. I think they should have been blooded earlier. And
they got to play with a bit of pride in their jersey, man.
Yeah, don't get me started on pride. But
I never thought I'd be saying this in a preseason, but I loved Travojevic, and it wasn't Ben, and it wasn't Jake, and it wasn't Tom. Are we finally seeing Burvo being that guy?
Well, he played on the right. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, not favourable. I would have loved to see him on the left.
Yes. So if he was on the left, at least we know that left edge spot is up for grabs. And maybe Olakwatu makes a shift to the left, and that's where they're trying to go. Surely not. But I would have liked to see him play on the left. But I think what I loved, it wasn't even from Manly. It was Blake Taff. Now, I thought he looked a lot better than he has in the past. And in the past, I've completely wanted to skip him, even at a cheap price, because the eye test, he looks too small. Can't break tackles, kind of like Sam Walker when he came onto the scene, but he looks better. So if he comes off the bench for a few weeks and then Latrell gets injured, he's someone I will consider now.
Do you want to know, like, this is peak trial footy overreaction? I saw some people suggesting that Trell should move to centre. Taff play fullback. Oh, I love it. But yeah, no, Taff looked really good. I think a lot of NRL teams out there that have this sounds bad, but I'd take Blake Taff over Will Kennedy.
Yeah, especially for the Sharks. Like, I don't know, Will Kennedy. He just looks like the kind of guy that just runs flat-footed, and he's not like even though he's quick.
I'd take him over Dane Laurie. I'd take him over Will Kennedy. I think Blake Taff could get a fullback contract. In the next 2 or 3 years.
I rate Dane Laurie. I think he's a really good fullback.
We'll see how he goes this year with a better side.
Yeah, I think he's got potential.
I need to see some more from Davey Moale, Savs, 234K. Yeah. Look, it's not a bad need to see more. I loved what I actually saw from him. 30 points in about as many minutes. South's having a few issues with their forward pack, with middles. I think Hamiso picked up a niggle. You've also got Saliva Havili, who's going to be out for a period of time. There's definitely minutes for Moale, and I just want to see him do it again, but I'm a huge fan. I think he'll be in a lot of engage people's teams as at front row forward number 3 at worst, number 4 if you're going with a lot of depth. But yeah, Davey Moale, 234K. If you can pick up 35 minutes off the bench, he's got a career 1.1 ppm-ish, so 40 points off the bench, not bad.
At the price, what do you need to see in the Charity Shield in order for you to start with him?
Probably just the same thing. Probably a slight uptick in ppm. I think he had 30 points in 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. So if we can see him come off the bench and play, 35 minutes and get 42, 43 points, that's all you can really ask for at 234K, isn't it?
I agree. I need to see more from Cooper Johns. I think he had a magnificent game, and I think Manly have done it again with the bargain half purchase. They got it with Kieran Foran a few years ago. He's gone and got his pay packet.
Cooper Johns, think there's genuine competition here or not?
No way. But I like how he played so well that it's going to put a little bit of pressure on Schuster. And a lot of people, Nuffy fans, I saw some comments. I put up the try assist he set up for that winger, and a lot of people commented, "Oh, he should have been the 5'8" anyway. It should be the 5'8" this season." I'm like, "Are you serious?" Like Josh Schuster
he didn't look good in the Melbourne system, and I just think it's a lot to put on him.
Yeah, and I think that's why we need to see more. I think we need to see more of him, and if he can produce that enough, he is a genuine backup option to Schuster, and I think a bit of healthy competition here and there doesn't go astray for someone like Schuster.
Never a bad thing. Although this guy didn't play in the trial game, we have no clarity on Isaac Thompson. It's still the battle with him and Milne. What do you? Let's not talk about the trial. What do you think of picking him? Because there is some talk, he is ahead in the pecking order, but boy, it's a big gamble.
Bro, he hasn't left my side all preseason. He's in my side, and you get to the point where you start looking at your side and you think, who am I actually going to play in round one? And I've gotten to the point where there's no way I'm not playing him. He is what the Rabbitohs have been begging for the last few years, a yardage winger like Alex Johnston, Tane Milne, Jack and Paulo.
Often nothing going forward.
Often nothing. They're going to want to get the ball to him straight away. They're going to give it to him. Off the kick return, he's going to take the hit up, and then someone else is going to take hit up. He's going to take the third hit up if the forwards aren't back. Trust me.
I know that it was his end of his career, and he wasn't great at Souths, but similar to a Josh Mansour, just that guy that can just take the hit up and get you 100 meters a game.
Yep. Mansour wasn't as good on the right wing. He always killed it on the left wing, but I don't know. I think I see more in Isaac Thompson. I think he offers a bit more at a slightly younger age than Mansour was. And, the Rabbitohs left edge is so dominant. Teams always focus on that at the start of the year.
Jeez, so it's not a bad spot to play outside Campbell Graham, though, in saying that either.
It's not. I actually think Campbell Graham is a fantastic right winger as well. So,
basically to sum up, you're keen on taking the gamble on Thompson despite the uncertainty.
I think you got to do it, and because there is uncertainty, he's kind of in pod territory for his price at least.
That's fair.
I need more clarity on Gordon Chan Tong.
Oh, how good is this guy? This guy is fantastic. Honestly, if Lockie Croker ever goes down, genuinely, bloke's got the best in the NRL. He was unreal.
Reminds me of Mason Lino, just of his build. Remember him? I actually really rated him as a player. I liked him.
Similar to is it Fanu? Like obviously the one that's stood down. Like very similar player, very similar build.
Very similar player, but because Fanu was a bit taller, so I think he just had a bit more like upper strength, whereas Chan Tong is that kind of guy.
He's just an absolute unit.
He'll duck under you, and he's kind of like Abby. Appy like ducks a lot, and I really liked him. But I love Lockie Croker. Yeah, it's kind of a
if Croker goes down, you're not upset.
No way. I think once he gets sniff, he'll take it.
Best name in the NRL.
Jordan Ken Tong. The All Stars game.
Oh, how good was it to see some actual just footy?
Yeah, so these guys played for a lot longer than half of the trials. Most of the good players were on the field for more than 60 minutes. What did you love?
How is Jermaine Hopgood not the most owned player in SuperCoach?
It's ridiculous, isn't it? He's only what is he, like 40, 50%?
I think he's 46%, and I think Josh Schuster is 52.
That's ridiculous.
Jermaine Hopgood. So I've put here scored X points in X minutes because I never got around to finishing this, but he ended up scoring 52 points, which I think is a travesty. Whoever scored that game, ridiculous. The hype is real, genuine must-have. Big names in this game like Trell, Nico, Cody Walker, they'll get all the hypes. But Hopgood, his stat sheet was quietly fantastic. Mm-hmm. He played 71 minutes, so a big hit out in the middle too at 13. He had 73 minutes, 44 tackles with 4 misses, 7 runs for 89 meters. So all his runs over 8 meters, 4 offloads, 5 tackle busts. I had him closer to 70 points. The SuperCoach, official scoring had him at 52. I think he'd get massive upgrades on a recount. But he is all the hype. And the question Ado and I had was not if you pick him, but is he a genuine starter? And I think you could generally build a 2RF around him.
He is my third second rower, and I haven't hesitated all season. I think he's... Someone asked me the other day, a para supporter who I work with, he was like, what's his Hopgood like? Because it was the day of the All-Stars game, and I'm like, I tried to explain him, and I was like, he's like a Reuben Cotter.
Yeah, very similar comparison. And you're a Panthers local, like you're a Manly fan, but you live in Penrith, so you'd be able to get down and see a lot of him, and even his stints in first grade, like he just looked the part. I think any concerns over his minutes, like I said, he played 71 minutes in an All-Star game, which was the highest intensity game of the week, and he looked every bit of a first grader.
I genuinely think he'll average more than 60, and 60 is being conservative. I want to say 65. I want to say 65, but I think he'll average more than 60 this year.
But yeah, like basically he won't get the plaudits because Nico Hines was Nico Hines, but like, and a lot of the casual footy watchers that like don't play fantasy wouldn't have really picked up on it. But I was going out of my way to watch him specifically, and I think he was unreal.
You did mention Nico Hines. What you saw on Saturday, I've got him as what I loved. Is that enough? Is that enough not to consider antipoding anymore? I saw a message on Saturday night from you. You were like, would you consider antipoding Cleary? I think that pretty much sums up the answer.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I've had teams where I've had Cleary, Hines, and Grant, and I've just never loved it. So you've got to pick between the two, and that's what I said to you. I was like, can we genuinely antipod Cleary with the round 3 bye and have Grant and Hines? But yeah, look, I doubted him last preseason. I didn't think he was worth it this preseason, but just watching him, I think he scored 68 points, and everyone was like, "Oh, that seems low."
Yeah,
he didn't goal kick, so add the goal kick, he goes back up to an 85, which is basically what he averaged last year. And first game back, he just looked every part. He's a halfback that gets so many touches of the footy, and that's what you want to see.
Yeah, and like it was an All-Stars match, but the All-Star, the Moldy All-Stars side, look at their forward pack. Their forward pack is nuts. That's kind of a tough draw. We would consider that a tough draw in the NRL. And
mate, if you're coming up against Fisher Harris and Tarpany, it doesn't get much tougher than that.
And he just went out and he was great. I think one of my notes here is he was passing perfectly, which I know people don't give that enough credit, but he's what I wanted to say even before this. There's two types of players in the NRL. There's one who has a massive season. They both have massive seasons, right? There is one who tries to get better and works on themselves all preseason, or there's another who's complacent with the season they had the season before and kind of drop off. They're still good. They still had their flashes. What do you see Nico Hines as? He's the type of guy that's going to work on himself all preseason, right? Like he's got that mental health coach that he seeked himself before he went to the Sharks. Goal kicking with Dan Carter, like
that was incredible. Like just to see him working with Dan Carter, it shows you the mentality of the bloke. I think another tick for Nico is looking at round 3s when Cleary has his bye. Tedesco plays the Rabbitohs and Latrell plays the Roosters, obviously.
Yeah.
Grant plays the Titans, who could be a captain option. But then in round 4, when the Roosters are out, the Sharks play the Dragons, while Cleary plays the Eels. So I think his value definitely presents itself in rounds 3 and 4 when you've got Tedesco and Cleary out, that he's basically a walking captain for your sides, which is something I hadn't looked at until, basically pulling apart my team to get Hines in.
I know we just gave Hopgood a wrap, but Parramatta are going to leak points early in the season. They always do it. And we will get to them very shortly. Who do we need to see more of?
Hayes Perham.
Yes, I had him as well.
Look, the talent's there. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, he showed flashes and like he looked good in parts, but boy, he overplayed a little bit. I just think maybe in a side that he hasn't trained with, it's hard as a fullback, as a new fullback as well, to come into a side with no combinations. Maybe he looks better with Flano and Burton, and I want to see that from the next trial and how he lines up there. And I think Avarillo looked really good in the Bulldogs trial at centre. So I don't think there's an issue of Perham's spot. I just don't know how involved he gets and how much Burton takes over. But the talent's there. I just don't know. Is 370 too much to gamble on?
I think so. I think from what I saw, he tried to push the pass too much. tried to overplay his hand. I don't think he's going to click straight away. I think he's going to take a while to kind of know his role. But on the same note, I don't want to rely on two Bulldogs attacking players in my side if I've got Burton as well.
Yeah.
So I think relying on two players who we're not sure if they're actually going to do well this year from the Bulldog side, especially when they have so much strike power elsewhere.
We think the Bulldogs will go well, but you can't say for sure that they're going to hit the ground running.
Yeah, exactly. Like
look, if Perrin was 310, I don't think we have this conversation. I think he's straight into our sides.
Yeah,
370, that extra 60k. It's like that's
it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's another 6 points he's got to find somewhere. He's not a goal kicker.
I've got Nickel Klokstad in my side instead of him.
Yep.
Like, if there's a choice, who do you choose?
Chance. I think just because he's done it before.
Just because of price, yeah.
Oh, price and 2019, 2020. Like we've seen Chance do it before. We've seen what he's done a full season at fullback, and I think Chance is a bit more of a worker. I think he'll get maybe 6-7 points more in base, which it adds up.
Who do we need more clarity from?
Tyrell Sloan. I mean, it's hard to judge. Fullback at 290k, but it's hard to assess him on the wing. But what I liked from him was he had really good carry backs. Really, really good bringing the ball back from his own end. And hopefully, like we saw his form at the back end of 2021. And, boy, if he can get that form back at the start of 2023, I think he'll make a mockery of the 290k price tag.
Yeah.
But the big gamble with Sloan is we're going inside unseen with Teamless Tuesday. We're not going to see what's happening round one. So that's you expect this to be your fullback. But Hook Griffin's crazy.
I've just got in my notes Sloan running hard. I think that's all we need, honestly. If he gets named, he's running hard. I think that's enough at the price.
It's always been his defense that's been the issue. Yeah. I don't think we've ever had concerns about him with ball in hand. I mean, he's been compared to someone like Preston Campbell in attack, which I think is a pretty good comparison, but it's his defense that has struggled.
But at the same time, someone like Sloan, on his carry backs, what do you call them? I keep getting them mixed up on his carry run backs. Kick returns.
Yes.
So on his,
what the hell are you talking?
On his kick returns, like a lot of fullbacks, and including himself early on, especially last year, the first two games and towards the end, he wasn't running at the line. Like he'd run across and kind of
just try and find an extra 2 or 3 meters around the outside of a defender rather than just going through the middle.
The tacklers would find him, whereas he's finding the tacklers now, which I really like. Moving on to the next game, Penrith versus the Eels.
Penrith as a club are just unfair. Like, how can you have such a good first grade team, such good juniors? It's not fair.
So I didn't write any notes down for this one because there was honestly, I didn't like anyone really. Matthew Dory at 230,000, but I think I need a bit more clarity there. We need to see if he starts.
Funnily enough, he was in my clarity section, Matt Dory. I think he had 1 try assist, 1 line break, 5 runs for 87 meters, 19 tackles. Did himself plenty of favors with the performance. So I just want to see him do it again. You're right, though. This game was tough. I loved what I saw from Sean Russell at fullback. Really involved. It's going to be hard because if he's getting a spot, it's going to be on the wing. So how much merit do we have? Still some question marks over the Eels, wing and center spot. So he could jag it, but 366k is probably a tad too much. And I want to see more from Josh Hodgson, 385.
This was the only guy I wanted to speak about this game.
How good was his try assist?
What, to the other team?
The Penrith center.
I think this is what I really wanted to talk about. So I had
thoughts on Hodgson quickly. Trap or buy?
Firstly, for Parramatta, he's a trap. He's 100% a trap. But for Parramatta, I thought he was a good purchase. I thought nearly an upgrade from Mahoney, but he's already overplaying his hand. I thought they would have come in with a plan. You're going to play like this. He doesn't need to play the way he's played because of how Dylan Brown, Gutho, and Moses play. And I think
just give them the ball.
I think he's going to get dropped. I genuinely think by round 7 he'll be dropped. Yes.
Okay.
Or someone. They just need someone to dish.
I just look at 385k. He definitely presents value, but how much because he's 48 years old. He's had 7 knee reconstructions, and I just don't think he's going to play more than 60 minutes. And it's when you can have Brandon Smith, when you can have Jaden Brayley, who's locked in for 80 minutes every week. Like I just don't see any value. Like I just don't see enough value for Hodgson to be a punt. I just love the commentary team still talk about him like he's 2018, 2019 Josh Hodgson.
Yeah, nah, I'm not buying it. I think
not a fan.
Nah, not a fan. But I was a very big fan of him in the preseason. But
is that because of the bicep photo? Like, did that get you going?
No. It wasn't that. It was genuinely because I think going into a Parramatta setup, I think he could add something. But just looking at him play on the weekend, I think he thinks he can add something too, and that's not when it's going to work.
To his defense, it was his first hit out in a very long time, and that's why I want to see more from him, but I just cannot pick him in my team. Dragons versus Hull, hard to really write much about this when only one team
didn't touch it.
The only thing I've got here is Ben Murdoch-Masila got 49 points with a try assist. I want to see more output from him in the middle.
Yep.
And Trey Stewart, we talk about Tyrell Sloan. Trey Stewart looked really good. He could take up the fullback role. Yeah.
He was one person. I did watch the highlights, and he was one person that really stood out.
I want to talk about Hull, though. Do you reckon they're getting absolutely smacked next week?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I saw a comment on one of the pages today. I think it was Punters and Dribblers or something. Penrith are going to declare.
Yeah, I think Gus Gould was like, if Hull are going to win, Penrith need to declare at halftime. Oh, look, I love seeing them out here, but yeah, I think if this whole side is considered the best side in England for the last 4 or 5 years, I understand the salary cap, is grossly different in the Super League to what it is here. Like ours is like triple theirs, but yeah, it could be a cricket score next week.
Yeah, I agree. Although I think they did more on the Dragons than what I thought they would. So credit to them. They might put up a fight. Storm versus the Roosters. This was an interesting one. There was a lot to look at.
Good game, this one. Yeah, plenty to look at. I loved what I saw from Christian Welch. I never thought I'd say that because I've been very anti-Christian Welch all preseason. I've only been anti-Christian Welch, not because I think he's a bad player, but because the Achilles injury, it's so hard to come back from one season back. But didn't set the world on fire, did make a couple of errors, but I think he had something like 24 points in 20 minutes in his very first game. Nothing to write home about, but not terrible when you've got someone like Saifiti who didn't set the world on fire. You can get Welch for a little bit cheaper.
Yep.
I think there's going to be plenty of minutes in the Storm pack, and he could be, the huge beneficiary of it. I think there's going to be a lot of minutes up for grabs. And yeah, if Welch is okay to come back and he looked fine, then he could be playing 55 minutes.
Good chance he is possibly captain as well, along with Munster. There's captain spot open. I think he'll be possibly club captain and Munster will be on-field captain. I think that's the way they should go.
Also, top bloke, probably one of the best blokes in the NRL.
Yeah, agree. But yeah, I think the main thing, the offload's there, and he's not an evasive player, so the injury doesn't affect his style of play.
Yeah.
I think the fact that the offload is there, and I've just got a message here.
Oh,
what happened? Something's happened with Mixed Rugby League chat.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, hold on, I've got it. Okay. Not everything you read is fact.
This is what I was telling you about before.
Heard some news. The manager of Sione Katoa, he's quit the team and signed with the Dragons. What's happened? I'm trying to piece this together. It's all right.
As you do that, I want to see more from Remus Smith. Centre wing, 316K. Not a whole lot to go on here. Had a few setbacks in the preseason. And didn't do a whole lot in the trial. We definitely need to see more from him if you are having him in your 17. But yeah, I think a lot of people are choosing between Remus Smith and someone like a Tommy Talau, who we didn't mention in the Tigers trial, but he definitely looked like a guy who was short of a few runs in his legs. Tommy Talau, and Remus Smith was probably the same.
I agree. I think Remus Smith is an interesting one. He actually had 10 games last year, and one of them was injury affected. So the fact that Melbourne put up cricket scores against sides and Remus still didn't get a piece of the pie, very interesting. But with the injury of Justin Olam, that's going to open up a can of worms for someone out there, and it could possibly be someone like Fa'alogo, potentially.
Yeah, he looked so really, really good, didn't he?
He looked very good. I think what I liked, I tried to make this Supercoach relevant because like Far Logo, I don't know if he's going to get a run this year, but there's a chance he could play center. He might play wing. But Jake Turpin, weirdly, in the halves and at hooker, like
low key looked good.
Yeah, he looked good. So has this penciled him in for a bench spot?
Yeah, I think he gets the 14 with Connor Watson injured. Can cover 13, can cover 9, can cover 6 if he needs to. But then again, you've also got Drew Hutchins in there who can do a similar job. So I think it's going to be a shootout between those two. But yeah, Terps didn't do himself any harm at all. Who did you love from this game? I don't think we got that.
Oh well, that was my love.
Oh, yeah, cool.
I honestly, later in the week, I didn't love much. There was some from tonight's games that I loved, like the Titans and the Broncos. I loved a few from there. So, but I liked Sam Walker. I like the look of him. I think he's going to start well.
Sammy Walker, he's someone that I really, really, really want. But do I want a halfback? Do I want back-to-back halfbacks out in rounds 3 and 4? That's the tough thing. If I'm not going to be Nico, but yeah, Sammy Walker looks good. I think he could make a claim to be like a top 5 halfback behind obviously Hughes, Cleary, and Hines. But yeah, Sammy Walker looks good, and I just think those conversations will get better. Who do I love?
Yeah.
I said Christian Welch.
You did say that.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot to go off. I mean, honorable mentions to Brandon Smith. I think he got through his work okay, got a try assist, which is nice. I think Victor Radley looked really good in the middle as well. But Matt Lodge, he looked really good. He isn't, I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but he still is not in the top 30 at the moment.
I think so that's a bad thing then. So it means surely by the start of the season.
He'll get upgraded, 100%.
He'll have to so they can play him. But he's kind of someone that I try to stay away from till later in the season when he gets a bit of match fitness. But it looks like he's a bit ahead of what he usually is at this time of the year.
Yeah, I just think Matt Lodge in his younger years was like a really good ball player, really good like soft hands to the middle, and that sort of went away at the Broncos when Payne Haas was coming through. But yeah, it looked like he found that again in that trial. I put no clarity on Eli Katoa. A few whispers that Trent Liero has locked down one of the edge spots, so Katoa will have to impress in the next trial. Only 17 points, wasn't at his damaging best, but happy to give him a pass. It's very hard to do. I think worth 15 minutes or so.
No, I think this has given me a lot of clarity. Elias Katoa was named. He was named on the bench, and then he was a late switch to second row. I think this has given me so much clarity that the Storm they're not going to settle on a second row straight away. They're going to switch and change. Bellamy isn't afraid to try new combinations throughout the season. He's going to play Eli Katoa, 50, 60 minutes, then put someone else on. I think
the Liero is locked into 80, to be honest.
You reckon?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's going to be that guy that Trent Bellamy, that Craig Bellamy leans on. And I think Katoa, you can look at this two ways. Katoa's a game breaker. He's very damaging. A liability in defense. We know this. He could be a guy that Bellamy uses 10 minutes either side of halftime, or he could be a guy that he just says to Katoa, go your heart out for half an hour to start, try and bust these guys open early. Whereas like Liero is very much a safe set of hands. I think I put a post that Liero averages 55 in games over 55 minutes. So I think he's a much safer choice. But yeah, I'm not too sure. Like, do you think that Tariq Sims is the answer, or do you think Tariq Sims is going to rotate through the middle? Because as we said with Christian Welch, very, very few middles. You've got Nelson Asfa-Solomona, you've got Christian Welch, you've got Josh King, and then maybe Tariq Sims, and obviously like Eisenhuth. Like there ain't much.
Yeah, I think Sims will play through the middle. But I think Welch is the only guy I would touch in that pack.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it's given me a lot of clarity that it's kind of... But we'll see. We'll see who's named to start. Liero.
I like Liero. I also like Cameron Ciraldo and the Bulldogs. Beating the Raiders, they looked really good, and I think Franklin Kelly looked outstanding.
Very good. I think he's been in my side all preseason, but he's kind of been a placeholder. But genuinely, he could be, if he gets a bench spot, he's good enough for me.
This is what I'm worried about, and we touched on this with Stefano. Like, if Stefano goes down, we're going to rely on Pele or Moale, and that's what I'm worried about. Like, there's no one to move to with Stefano. But yeah, Franklin Pele, there's been hype for him for 2 years, but he looked really good. He looked to play a little bit on the edge as well. Had a nice try assist.
Mm-hmm.
He ran with intent. Always looked dangerous. But there is a lot of middles at the Bulldogs. But hopefully he does get his bench spot. I think a positive
at the price.
Reid Marnie, 80-minute hooker. So that should open up no 14.
Yeah.
And that should open up obviously more middles to be on the bench.
I agree. I think, he's got to be your fourth front row, though. I think if you're starting with him, he's got to be your fourth. He can't be your third because I think that's going to spell trouble. I want to talk about Reid Marnie in a second. You did mention him.
Ooh, good or bad?
It just depends. Like, I've just got thoughts on him. But what I loved, surprisingly, Kyle Flanagan.
Hey, he looked good.
He did look good. And you know what? Only 2 seasons ago, you were putting out bold predictions that he would average more than
average. How do I still on the platform? Honestly, how have I not been cancelled?
We have been a few times, so don't.
But no, Flano looked good, didn't he? Like, I think he had 2 try assists. Looked
he was playing both sides of the field, which I liked. I don't know if that spells well for Matt Burton, but at the same time, like, I never understood why Matt Burton was goal kicking over Flanagan, and
he strikes them well.
He hits them so nicely. I don't know if they're going to go back because they've locked in Flanagan as their 7. If they're going to go back to Flanagan kicking goals, this could potentially spell Burton as maybe not a good a buy as he seems.
Well, I put up a post about a week ago of all 16 or all 17 teams now in their goal kicking stats. Burton was the 3rd worst. He only kicks them at 73%. And that's behind Nick Meaney, surprisingly, who is the worst. Sam Walker, who's the 2nd worst. So yeah, so in terms of like out of the 17 goal kickers, Burton ranks 15th in terms of career percentage.
Burton is 40% owned.
I think that's too high. That's antipod territory.
Antipod territory.
Yeah, I was on Burton. Saw he was at 40%. Saw his goal kicking stats, and then I'm like, shit. Like, we're banking a lot on the fact that the Bulldogs are going to be good, and I think they will be. But like, it's a lot to gamble on when
I think so too.
When Adam Dewey was great in a crap side.
Oh, I've got them both, so I'm not worried about this or that. But at the same time, like, I think this should be under we need more clarity. Where next week, hopefully, they play together. I want to see who goal kicks. If Kyle Flanagan goal kicks, there's a good chance I move Burton on.
This is big. This is big. Luke Brooks versus Jackson Hastings goal kicking vibes from last year.
The amount of times I think I've listened to like a few podcasts, and maybe I was even listening to yours, and it might have even been Tigers one or a Halves one or something for someone
That's your
else.
first problem listening to me for advice, mate.
But Luke Brooks, genuinely,
looks good. He looks good. Shit, don't say it, but he looks good. Hey, you started with him 2 years ago, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, and he
averaged like 62 or something in the first like 8 weeks.
Did all right. He got me by. But what I need more clarity on, I guess. So Reid Marnie as well.
Yeah. Talk to me about Reid Marnie.
So a lot of people last year, including yourself, by the sounds of it, were burnt by Reid Marnie last year. So
because of your stupid co-host telling me his hairdresser story.
Yeah, no. That got me as well. So
I will never live down because I was tossing between Mitch Moses and Harry Grant, and this sounds stupid, but it was Mitch Moses and Harry Grant or Reid Marnie and Sam Walker, and I lent into Sam Walker and Reid Marnie, and Mitch Moses went on to average like 80, Harry Grant averaged like 92, and Marnie was awful, Walker was awful.
That's ridiculous.
all because of this bloody hairdresser story, mate.
Fuck that hairdresser. If I ever see him, I ranked 69th last year. You ranked 140th, and we started with Reid Marnie.
Yeah. I look back on last year. It was brutal because I captained Pappenhausen in his broken knee game, and I captained Cleary in his spear game.
Tough.
Talk to me on Reid. Like, what are you thinking?
Anyway, Reid Marnie. So we started with him last year because we saw what he could do the year before. He had attacking output. He just tackled his dick off, and he was just a gun. Obviously, that fell off a cliff last year.
It was so bad.
And as I was saying about Hodgson, Parramatta needed someone just to dish, and Reid Mahoney would pass the ball 30 meters so the halves could do their thing. And that's all he needed to do. Just make a few tackles.
Just a shoveler. That's all he
Throw
was.
the ball 30 meters. Yeah, he had a few runs here and there, but the halves were so good that he didn't really need to be creative. At the Bulldogs, their spine is Hayes Perham, Kyle Flanagan, and Matt Burton. Hayes Perham and Kyle Flanagan are not really the type of creative players like Moses, Brown, and Gutherson. So I think
they need to be put in their spot, whereas Moses, Gutherson, and Brown can do it themselves.
Yes, exactly. So I think that there's a bit of an avenue for Reid Mahoney to have a bit of upside this year. And I think we're going to go back to...
Don't do it again, Danny. Don't do it again.
I'm not going to do it, but he's going to go back to potentially where he was in 2020, 2021. What do you like? Does that make you just think a little bit more about him? I don't think I could potentially do it again. But
I just think Brandon Smith is locked. Like, he ain't moving, and I don't think he should move from anyone's team. So that leaves one spot. And then do you spend on Grant? I mean, do you go up to Tanner Boyd? Like, Reid Mahoney or Tanner Boyd?
Oh, can we ask that question in the last game? Because
yeah. Okay, well, let's
I have a bone to pick, but let's
I've been beating the Tanner Boyd drum. A couple more from this game. I want to say more from Corey Horsburgh. You know, Bloke's just got a phenomenal PPM. I think it's like 1.3, which is up there with some of the best. But the problem is there's a lot of unknowns. Last year, I was very skeptical on your mail on Hudson Young. Can you pull some strings and find out what the hell's happening with Corey Horsburgh? Because if he gets like 50 minutes, all over it.
Well, the only reason I knew that is because the guy I had mail on was like best mates with Hudson Young, and like that's all I had.
This was through your cameo phase last year. And I was just like, no, I ain't buying this shit, and then he killed it. So
this wasn't even a.
That's what I mean. Like, you're in the middle of your cameo phase. I was like, I don't know what's going on.
It was a guy named Jake. He just talked up Hudson Young all the time, and he's like, he's gonna go off this year. And I took it with a grain of salt, but I'm like, kind of like mixed rugby league chat. Throw shit, and if it hits a wall,
some of it lands.
Yeah, some of it lands.
That's my strategy. If you do a player profile on everyone available, you can just reshare the good ones. Come like the middle of March.
It's kind of what I've been doing. Like, you get to a point where you're like, do I just do every player? Like, whether
you come round 6, you can be like, see, this guy averaged 80. But don't show the rest of them. I want to see more clarity from Paul Alamotti as well, obviously.
Yeah.
We all do. Bloke is an absolute unit. Absolute brick shit house. Scored a nice try off some backing up off Ockenbaugh. If he starts, he's an obvious must-have. But outside kick out, he could be a genuine play tweak. Like, he would go from being a bench guy to being a guy that's like, yeah, he could be my fourth centre wing. Similar like Hopgood.
Yeah. I agree. My daughter's just woken up, and I've got the baby monitor here, so good.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Cowboys Dolphins. Cracking game.
I loved it. I think in my notes here, all I have is Dolphins effort 100%.
It's still Wayne Bennett's side, isn't it?
It's Wayne Bennett's side, and the effort they showed was just amazing. And I think, once again, I'm going back to the people loading up on the Roosters. If you're banking on them smashing the Dolphins, then the Warriors in the first 2 rounds, think again, because I think they're going to put up a fight.
I think that both the sevens in this game looked excellent. Duffy from the Cowboys looked fantastic, and obviously Katoa. I haven't seen much of him play, but watched him, in this game, and I think he could be like similar to Sam Walker a couple of years ago. You know how Walker was like tipped to play, but it wouldn't be until mid-season.
Yeah,
I think once Katoa gets his chance, then he's going to be absolute must-have.
We all know how it's going to play out.
Who do you think makes way, Milf or Sauce?
I think Sauce. I think Milf looked good enough.
Milf did look, and Milf looked all right at the Knights as well, to his credit.
Yeah, he did actually. I think he just needs the discipline to train week in, week out.
And he'll get that. He'll get that with Wayne. Who did you like in this game?
Honestly, I just like the Dolphins. I think I really enjoyed Katoa, Ray Stone.
Oh, Ray Mustone. More like
thought-
he is all effort. He is Wayne Bennett as a footy player.
Yeah, I think I really like what I saw from him. He's going to get picked off the bench, so it's kind of going to be that same thing again, where he's got the same role for that he did for Parramatta. But I also really liked Mason Teague.
He was one of their best against the Capras the week before last.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he's a Panthers boy as well, isn't he?
He is. We had him on the podcast not too long ago. So
another Panthers junior makes me absolute sick.
I think that's exactly why I was keeping an eye on him, and he scored the match to get in front.
Evener, yeah, like the momentum shifter.
Yeah.
I want to see more from the entire Dolphins backline. just the backline as a whole. They struggle to put up points. Look, which we expected. I just can't go near it.
Not you and Aiken. I think was it Thomas Duffy that made a break and
effort. Just chasing the whole way. Didn't get there, but chasing the entire way, like 95 meters.
No, it was Lesia Mosidrick, the number 2 for the Cowboys. He made a break.
You've definitely not butchered that. I reckon you've hit the pronunciation perfect.
Hit the nail on the head. Aiken chased him down. Like he that's why I put the caption 100% effort. I think the Dolphins are going to play this brand of footy. That's all I took from this game. Gajewski.
Oh, Jack G. Low key. I made a player profile on him. Didn't know how well it would go down, but didn't look terrible. And that's a compliment for Jack Goss.
He didn't look terrible. He was actually part of Timmy's winning side in the 2021 season. So he played a magnificent role in that side. But, I mean, I don't know if I want Cohen Hess to start there, but I think the fact that he did all right, does that mean even if Cohen Hess does start, does Gajewski come off the bench? Like, I think there's a lot of...
It's just so weird with the Cowboys' edges because you've got Luciano. Is he going to jail? Is he not? Like, no one knows. Like, how long is Healan Lukey going to be out for? It's weird. I think it's just tough. Obviously, going back to my point about the entire Dolphins back line struggling to, click. What do we think of Hammer? Are we getting trap vibes? Because I had him as like a must-have like a month ago. Now I'm like,
I think he played, I think it was 10 games last year. I looked into it and he scored 30 points on average. And so that's enough of a sample size. And
did you take out the ones off the bench?
Yeah, no, 80-minute games.
I think he has a career average at fullback of like 55, but that's in a Cowboy side. This is a Dolphins, so it's like, ugh.
Yeah. I don't think I honestly think Tessie New should be the guy. Like defensively, Tessie New's not the greatest, so why would you have him in at centers? I mean, a fullback is arguably more important for defense, but at the same time, like there's just a whole lot of nothing. Like that, there's not really much they can work with anyway.
No, that's fair. That's fair. We got back-to-back cracking games. The Titans and the Broncos, 24.
I loved a lot from this game. I loved a lot.
And and tell me you loved number 7 from the Gold Coast Titans.
Did you fit him in your side?
Oh, I built around him. I genuinely, and this is silly, but he is the reason why I haven't had all 3 of Cleary, Hines, and Grant.
They got a nice draw to start the year as well.
I just think he's like 20 points underpriced.
He is. There's no doubt he is.
He had 2 try assists. He is. I think he's the second best goal kicker. We go back to that percentage before. I think he was the second best goal kicker behind Cleary. Like he can strike them, and we saw that striking it from the sideline to draw the game.
Yeah.
I don't have I'm pulling up the SuperCoach points from that game, but yeah. Like who else did you love? Yeah, 60. But he's priced at what, 37?
Yeah, something like that.
And one of those try assists was off a kick, so he didn't even get the LBA for it.
Yeah, exactly. I love what I saw. I haven't fit him on my side yet, but I'm still yet to tinker with my side. But I don't know. I love him. I loved what I saw from Reece Walsh.
Oh, I've seen that many Reece Walsh teams today. Like so many turbo Reece Walsh combos. I don't know. Am I buying? Obviously, his SuperCoach points were inflated because of goal kicking. which he won't have.
Which the second one at the 40-minute point. Oh my God.
Did he mean it?
Yeah, of course he did. Look at them, look at them eyelashes. Of course he did. Yeah.
Do you see any value in him?
I do, but at the same time, like he's not goal kicking.
Like over Turbo, like really?
Nah. He's not goal kicking this year, so it looks like even Tony Staggs is probably in front of him in the goal kicking pecking order. Which
talk to me on Tony. What do we think? What are we thinking? Because it turns out he was playing with a busted shoulder. Had a recode done it in the off season. Can we go back to the Tony Staggs? Well,
I can't do it. I think Adam Reynolds kind of took control of this side, and he took it to the point where every time he got to the point where he could give it to Tony Staggs, he would just take the ball that extra step further and then pass it out to Cobbo. And I think
we didn't touch on Cobbo in the All Stars game. He was a game of two halves, wasn't he?
He was. I didn't like what I saw. I think and also he was playing left wing, so he's not going to play left wing for the Broncos. So I need to see more. But at the same time, that's what he is. Like in a nutshell, he could be on 10 at halftime and end up with 130. So he's that type of player.
I think everyone's waited an hour and 11 minutes, Sabs, for us to talk about David Fifita. 35 points in about 60 minutes. Looked very lost out there. People saying that Foran's going to unlock him failed to realize that Foran's going to be playing on the left. So not a whole lot's going to be doing there. Can you go with the Boyd Fifita stack, or do you have to pick one or the other? And
you can.
Is he still viable after that performance?
You can. I definitely need to see more next week, but I think I'm starting to buy into the narrative that Fifita is. It's not so much the Titans. Maybe it is Fifita, but
contract year, mate.
I need to see more from the Titans. Surely they're going to give it to him. Like he's going to. Holbrook's job is on the line.
I was literally going to ask you. Round 27 this year, is Justin Holbrook the head coach?
Yes, I think they're going to do well. I think they're going to come out and do well, and I think Tanner Boyd being there is a great decision. I honestly, the Jaden Campbell hype was put down in a nutshell in that game when he went for the grubber and chase, and Broncos went to the other side of the field and scored. That's just
talk about a player that overplays the hand a tad too much. You can definitely tell he's still raw. I think Brimo being at fullback all season will help them. One quick question: Dave Fifita must have or not?
No one's a must-have except Jermaine Hopgood and Nico Hines and Nathan Cleary and Harry Grant and Tanner Boyd and and Cameron Murray.
Oh, Murray's found. I never thought I'd have Murray in my side, but he's found his way there.
He's 100% there for me.
Yeah, Fifita, are you going to be starting with him round one? If round one was this weekend, do you start with him?
Yes. I think I like the fact that he had a terrible game and he's going to go down in ownership because I want to give it a go. There's value there if he gets it right.
I think with this Angus Crichton news, it's made it because there was some because I had Fifita and Crichton. Now I've got Fifita and Murray, but it's like with Crichton out, it sort of makes it be like, well, what other premium? I can't trust Hemwall. I don't know if it's lightning in a bottle for Hudson Young. Sean Lane, there's not really premium centre wings I'm overly keen on that aren't Fifita or Murray. So it's just like, but mate, footy's back. How good? We're gonna see some first grade teams this weekend, and I am over the moon.
We should, and weird how we record this tonight because actually tomorrow's Valentine's Day, so we can't record tomorrow because we're doing some special stuff. But we're playing this week. There's a lot of good matches on this week. There's the World Club Challenge as well, which is going to be exciting. A lot of footy. Hopefully we can get more clarity this week. But at the same time, don't read too much into it because who is
the one player you are most keen to watch this weekend?
Oh, everyone.
Mine's Brian Toto.
Nah. I'm not.
Just-
not a
You're
fan.
not going there?
Not a fan.
I'm getting Valentine Holmes FOMO. I never had him, but like seeing everyone have him and all the talk about the draw, it's like shit. I need to get him in.
I think I'm most keen on the Burton Flanagan situation. I want to see what happens there, because that's actually going to decide something in my side. And I'm also keen to see. There was someone else. I forgot.
Stefano, if you can back it up.
Yeah.
Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so
pleasure.
much for having me.
No, thank you. Thank you for pretty much running this thing, because I get lost in my thoughts and
Mate, when you got a baby crying in the other room, I'm sure it's very hard to stay concentrated.
oh yeah, she woke up now and the wife's probably up with her, so I'm like probably in the bad books now, so I'm probably gonna go up in a second.
No, mate. Hey, everyone, thanks so much for watching. I know it's very late on a Monday night, so some tragic. I'm sure there's some absolute Supercoach tragics that are still tuned into this absolute waffle.
Oh well, this will get re-uploaded onto the podcast. So if you're listening in the car, please make sure you're not listening with any kids in the background.
I know Matty Pearson said he's going to be watching when he's driving to work tomorrow morning. So if Pearso is still listening to this, I'll give him a quick shout out. So yeah, on you, Pearso.
Where did he say that?
I think on your original post, on your
right.
live one, he was like, "I'm going to listen to this going down the M1." Or something.
Actually, I'm going down the M1 tomorrow. I'm going to carry on.
Best friends.
All right. We'll see you later, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. I've got to end the broadcast here.